I now call the East Lyme Zoning Commission regular meeting of January 9th, 2025 to order at 7:27 p.m. Can we start with the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome back and Happy New Year. Here we go again. Mr. Peck.
Yes.
Here. Ms. Markovitz. Here. Mr. Foley.
Yep.
Ms. Kalal. Here. Ms. Jet Harris. Mr. Liska. Ms. Susko. Not here. Ms. Uhas. Here. Mr. Mulholland. Here. Ms. LaRocco. And we don't have Mrs. Hardy again tonight. Has anybody heard? Is she doing well? Or?
I talked to her about a week and a half ago. She's doing much better.
Oh, good. Okay. We don't have any public hearings tonight, so we'll start with our regular meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of last month's meeting.
I second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? 6-0-0. Old business. We spent quite a bit of time, the staff did, as well as Attorney Bleasdale, looking into if we qualify for a 830G moratorium. And if you remember, Attorney Bleasdale came and answered questions and talked about the results. It's probably time we talk about that and decide if we want to recommend to the first selectman if we think he should ask for one or not. It'd be nice to give him an opinion from the zoning board. Do we have any?
Did he finish his?
Yeah, I
Yes.
thought he was coming
I
back.
thought he was too.
No, he did. He was here to he answered questions, and then he came back and talked about something else. But he was here to finish answering any questions. Do you feel like you're not ready to discuss it, or?
Could somebody just do a quickie?
If I may, Madam Chair,
Yes.
if necessary, we could ask him to come back. I've met with him the other day on several matters. I will also note that they're going to be down one attorney. They have a retirement in the firm, and Mr. Bleasdale will be picking up some slack, and we'll probably see more of him. But I could invite him back if that's what you choose to do.
It's up to you all. If you think if you have more questions for him, we can have him back.
Well, there were some significant consequences either way.
Yeah.
And I just wanted, it's been a month, and I'm sorry, my brain occasionally overworks. And
That's okay. We can ask him back if you don't.
I feel like maybe we should ask him back and have a discussion that night and perhaps make a decision then.
Yeah, we can do that.
We could do that. I would ask that if you have any questions or dream any up, you write them down and send them in, and I can send them to him so we can kind of cut down his
Beforehand,
time
yeah.
where we can, and give him the heads up to just make it more efficient for everybody.
should we have a special meeting so that it's just him and us that we can discuss? it?
No, I
don't
don't. Not in my opinion, because I don't think it's going to take that much time. And we've had him a couple of times. We've done a lot of work for a year. I know you haven't been involved in that, but the staff has. But I think a couple of visits from him have sort of laid the groundwork for us. And you would forward it to the first selectman, and he would make a decision on whether to go to the state.
Well, is it in the minutes here? Because I don't recall reading anything about it in here, and I'm just not seeing it.
Yes, I looked back at the minutes today, actually. I think it was an October meeting.
Yeah, it just happened the last meeting.
I
He
think
was
the
here in
first meeting in
October
I
and
think it
answered
was.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Michael.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we invite Mr. Attorney Blaisdell back so we can check it over and make sure we've done everything that we need to do. And we can come with questions so we're prepared. to ask specific questions if necessary. That's what I'd like to make a motion for.
Does everyone consent to that, or is there
I
some?
second
Okay, do you all agree?
Yep.
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I mean, I think we could probably look back at the tape of that meeting, too. I
Mhm.
think that would be a great refresher.
And then the minutes are also
Yeah.
online. Would you mind asking him
So
when he
you
could
have a
come?
motion on the floor with a
Yeah,
second.
we seconded it and everyone consented,
Uh,
yes.
But you need to call a vote.
Yeah, although consent works, but everyone say aye if you're for it.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and you'll talk to him.
So six,
Okay,
six
thank
zip,
you.
thank you.
Okay, we have 2 subcommittee reports. Mr. Peck, you and Bill are working on?
Yeah, we're not quite there yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And then we have another one with Ms. Kalal and Ms. Jet Harris. Do you have an update
Yeah,
tonight?
we do actually.
Okay.
Do you want me to go first and segue it in? Okay. About a month and a half ago, this commission voted to form a subcommittee. And the subcommittee was specifically for the RU 8040 for redistricting. There's so much information about this, and what it entails is it has to do with there was a guest that came here and spoke, and then that's what kind of prompted us to do this subcommittee. His name was Mr. Christensen. He should have his stuff on file if anybody else wants to read it to catch up. It's about the aquifer protection. It's about the aquifers and where they're located at. It's about our drinking water, where it's located, and how it correlates to zoning specifically. So we found out a bunch of information. I'll let Nancy talk about some more information, but this information is hopefully leading up to this commission having a public hearing so that people can hear, and they will, people will come like the experts that really, can explain it to us, because it has to do with our potable drinking water. It has to do with water that is in the north end of town that is, I believe, Nancy, the only one that is not contaminated or has any issues. It's pristine, so we want to make sure that we're doing right, because according to the regulation, I'm going to make sure I quote it right, let me get it the right one. It was in 2021, and I got it right here, I can pull it up quickly. Okay, so the zoning strategies to address mandates for coastal water quality protection. There is a Public Act 21-29 that enables zoning to have the responsibility to protect the water quality of Long Island Sound and to all the 169 municipalities that exist in Connecticut. So when we found out this information, and we know that the zoning does have the right to, to investigate it, we can have a public hearing, and the whole thing about the public hearing is to get the community involved. The parcel of land that is out there, Nancy will know the exact acreage, but over half of it is owned by the state of Connecticut and Hartford Hospital. So, it's open space. So we want to see if we can redistrict, and so what that would mean is right now the lots are 1 to 2 acres, and we are looking at 5 acres to see if that would help save our water and our land and stuff that filters the water. So Nancy can touch more upon it.
Okay, if you read the aquifer regs, number 3B says that we can change our watershed and recharge boundaries should we desire to. Of the major pollutants, salt, which is sodium and chloride, it's really the chloride part of the salt that has the greatest effect on fish and wildlife, whereas the sodium has a greater effect on humans. So our town uses snow plows to regulate the salt that have special, feet, for lack of a better word, so that the area, when the plow goes over the area and it's pushing the snow aside somehow, and that is supposed to mitigate the amount of salt that lands in the side of the road that ends up in our waterways. Interestingly, I did find out that we have all our schools that sit on top of the aquifer who use private contractors, so we have no regulation of the salt on top of of our aquifers. PFAS are a whole nother kettle of fish. We have no control over that, and that is and will be coming down the pipe from Department of Water as to how we're going to fix that, which is a huge multi-million-dollar project. So nitrogen is another polluter. And nitrogen comes from fertilizers on parks, residential lawns, ball fields, agricultural uses. All nitrogen fertilization is organic. It grew from the 40s when World War II ended. Nitrogen was part of all the bombs that they'd made. They had all this nitrogen left over, had nothing to do with it, so some bright person from Lakeshore Equipment and Supply figured out how to turn it into fertilizer. What makes it inorganic, well, let me back up. So fertilizer is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. Potash comes from potassium. What makes it inorganic is when you add in herbicides and pesticides, but nonetheless, you're still spreading nitrogen. That accounts for approximately 57% of pollutants, according to Jamie Vaudry, who is the woman who does all the work for Long Island Sound through Yukon. Septic systems can account for 37% of all pollution. Now, septic systems can leak, which we heard from Tim May, the engineer for the 91 Boston Post Road project, who stated in his expert testimony that all septic systems will fail within 100 years of their construction. The town of Clinton has figured this out, and they have a simple spreadsheet, and they hired a woman for 19 hours a week, and all she does is keep track of the septic tank pumpings and to ensure that every citizen does what they have to do. If they fail to comply, they get hit with the big bill and they have to pay, they pay in fines. So it's entirely doable. That water flows downhill is indisputable. It is also true that what goes in the ground ends up in the sound. And that makes sense if we protect the northern lands from being covered, that we can help preserve the aquifer and the health of the sound. Now, Fuss and O'Neill were the authors of the Nyack River Watershed Report, the East Lyme Water Department reports of 2018, 2019, 2022, as well as POCD, Conservation Options for Connecticut Farmland. Virtually everywhere, everyone talks about you have to save your undeveloped lands because that's what filters the water that goes through that lands in the aquifers. Back in 1980, Betty Murphy wrote a letter asking that we increase the recharge areas, but nothing ever happened. Keeping our watersheds and recharge areas as clean as possible will have the far-reaching effects not only on drinking water but the health of the sound, which impacts our future food supply, especially from the sound. Encouraging aquaculture and agriculture are the answers to feeding our population in the future. Encouraging agriculture to feed our citizens is a great idea. Just FYI, if 81 and 94 and 95, are shut down for whatever reason, there's only 3 days food supply in the state. And that was tested. Remember back 6-9 months ago, Stop and Shop had no food because of some cybersecurity glitch.
I remember.
So it's not unrealistic. So East Lyme has an agreement with the City of New London. For 6 months we take their water, and on the alternative 6 months we give it back. However, we have not had potable water that they will accept back, which is kind of sad. So when we feed our citizens drinking water that the City of New London doesn't want, what do we do with it? I'm assuming it gets into our water supply in Niantic through the pipes. So Debbie and I decided that the answer is kind of obvious. We have to protect the the northern lands, which are the higher altitude lands that filter the pollutants to save Nyannick's water supply. To do this, we propose to raise the zoning requirement for 5 acres from 1 to 2 acres. So 50% of the north end is either owned by the Nyannick State Forest and the state or by Yale University. And if either one of those decides to sell off lands for whatever reason, they can. And I think it behooves us to plan for such exigencies. We've worked out boundaries with Mr. Mulholland, how to make this all work.
That would help gather information that would support a public hearing. This is just like, you know what I mean, we really gathered all of this to, hopefully the commissioners will vote tonight so we can have a public hearing where the experts will come and talk, and everybody will come and talk, and we can collect and we can ask the questions, and that way we can really figure it out to see if that's even a viable thing that we should be doing. Because there's a lot of data that's come out from 2022. There was a newspaper article too that was in the paper recently, a couple days ago, that talks about the drinking water. Once it gets to a certain point, from what I understand, and I could be wrong, I'm not an expert, but once it gets to a certain point of contamination, there's no pulling it back. So by proper development, to save, the land, which filters all the water down, could, greatly benefit East Lyme.
Do you have how many houses are you talking about? How many pieces of property?
Bill, do you know how many?
Isn't it like 30?
No, oh God, no, it's 400 to 500 properties when you sit down and do it go by go. I think Gary or Janet have the actual list. Jess, I think do I have that list? I don't have the list with me, do I?
It's in that binder, the blue one, too.
Oh, the blue binder?
Yeah, it's close to 400, a couple hundred anyway.
So a couple hundred properties would be made non-conforming if we were to do this?
And
Well, if you, you can, my line is squiggled. You can kind of see what we had in mind.
Anything north of that
We
line?
need to stuff the white paper up the.
Okay.
If I may briefly, as I look through this, but if you turn your attention to your zoning map to the left-hand corner of the commission, if I may briefly, we're essentially discussing everything north of this line, and then your slope would kind of diagonally go up and pick up some of the larger parcels. So everything north of that, which is the old RU80, which is the white, and then some of the RU40 is what we discussed, and that's in the meets and bounds description that we've developed. It's not completely finished, but it's at about 95%.
And all those homes up there, Bill, are on 1 to 2 acres, which is what they're
Well,
supposed
all
to
the
have.
white is 2 acres zoning. Some homes are not on 2 acres because they were
They're on
developed.
1.
Yeah, they may be on 1 because they were developed in the RU40. Some of the RU80 may have some non-conforming lots that are still empty. They may have been developed with some houses. We haven't done an analogy of that scenario. But you're talking all those properties, and my recollection is the number was 400 to 500 properties. I don't know if I have a specific number in my file.
And of those properties, the ones on the right-hand side are already built upon.
So they'd all become non-conforming.
Well, it wouldn't matter because
It wouldn't
they're-
matter. That's a
they
big
got
deal.
houses on them.
But they wouldn't be able to do an addition to their house. They wouldn't be able to put in a pool. And being a non-conforming use is a serious thing. You're reducing the value of everybody's property who falls under this zone change.
Whoa, 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 whoa. What, how do you? That's not the opinion of a lot of people.
have you talked to a lawyer at all? And
No. That's not my job to talk to a lawyer. This is the East Lyme Zoning Commission, and the commission talks to the lawyer, not me personally. That's, I think, how it works.
I didn't know if you had any
If there are
previous
legal questions,
contact.
we can get that addressed at some point, should the commission or subcommittee need more.
I mean, I'd want to get an attorney's opinion before I voted
Yeah, me
on
too.
anything.
Just for a public hearing?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we do need to I love that you've done all this work, and I don't want it to be in vain. So I think perhaps what has to happen is that we maybe even get together as a group outside of a regular meeting and go over the material, either with an attorney or not. But I think Mike has a point.
I will just share, and I apologize for
Oh,
intruding.
no, please.
This is sort of a parcel map of all the parcels, as you can kind of see. I can't quite find the number in here because I don't know that we actually, I just think we have a list. I don't recall what the number is. The subcommittee has spent a lot of time poking at this. The staff has helped quite a bit because we had to develop the meets and bounds description because we have to publish that should this go forward as a legal ad for a public hearing, because we have to give notice to all the property owners that there's potential for a change of zone. That number for that legal ad is substantial, in the many thousands of dollars, because we have to notice each parcel, which is just part of our business, but it's an expensive undertaking. So there's been a lot of effort put together. If you want to hear from legal counsel, I can arrange that. You all tell me what you want to do.
What if we're going to ask them to come to a meeting about the moratorium? Maybe we do these two things at the same meeting
So,
and try to
And
get
have a
him here.
list or a number of properties that.
yeah, we
that
have that readily
Okay.
handy. I don't have it tonight. So let me look at your schedule, if you want me to see if I have an open date, or we can talk about a special meeting. And if I don't find we have a special date, I'll talk to the chair about arranging a special meeting. So if we bring the attorney, we can concentrate on getting these things done with his time, so that his time is not wasted, because they're not inexpensive either. And that, I think, in my opinion, is a more efficient way to address anybody's questions and issues.
I have a question too for you, Bill.
Yeah.
Whenever when they did the rezoning back in the 90s, when they made it to a 1 acre,
I think that might have
did that
been,
make any properties non-conforming?
you mean when they upzoned it to 2 acre?
Yeah. No,
Um,
some of them are still 1 acre and some are 2.
Yeah.
So why, maybe we can, a good question we can speak to town council is maybe we can just do a portion of it where it actually affects.
Yeah, and that's why we will bring them, because we can ask all those questions. They did upzone it, and I haven't found any evidence of it, but I did have a discussion with one of our elder town attorneys, who is semi-retired. Apparently, when they changed the zone to RU80, they did so based on septic and well separation distances. I think that was done in the 70s, but I haven't found a file. We're kind of searching for it just as more background. And so that might be helpful to us to have some background on that. I've kind of asked if he had any paperwork to help substantiate and review to understand what's transpired. So I will contact the town attorney. I will look for a date. Our next meeting is, we've got 2 or 3 pretty important applications, but let me look at the calendar and the schedule.
And see when the attorney's available.
Yes, I will
Yeah.
do that.
And I think it's a worthy goal, but I don't think we're at the point to have a hearing yet.
I think,
Do you-
I think the attorney's gonna tell us regarding making a property, a house non-conforming. I believe when you do that, when you change the zone, you increase the size, it enables people to, because of this hardship with the land, to qualify for variance to put an addition on a house.
There's no way that, in your experience, Norm, that we could grandfather the existing properties that are there to not do that?
I think the variance would work.
So there is a way, possibly.
I believe so.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's nice to know. That, because I think that the people of East Lyme really are interested in how we can come up with different ways to, that zoning laws allow us to, because we have a certain purview that we have to stay in. But that's encouraging to know, thank you. Can't
Any-
ask for more than that.
Any other comments? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
New business. We have an application of Boats Incorporated for Coastal Area Management CAM for site plan review for tear down and rebuild of proposed 4,146 square foot building for property located at 129-1 Main Street, Assessor Map 12.1, Lot 54. And Mr. Mulholland, you'll be scheduling
I'll
that?
schedule that, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other business tonight of anyone?
I went to the planning meeting, it was my turn. Are we at that section yet?
No, but if you want to jump ahead, that's fine with me.
Rush it along, no. No, so I went to their meeting. They did their, there was a bond that Gary Gaishel was going to check on. It had expired, but the Orchards apparently had done a lot of the work already, so they wanted a reduction in that from $1 million to, I believe, 450,000. So they were going to, Gary Gaishel was working on that to see if they could do that. They asked for that consideration. And then the commission voted to table it until they got more information. They had election of their officers, and that was about it. It was a pretty quick meeting. It went pretty quickly.
Okay, thank you. Public delegations is the time when members of the public are invited to speak to the commission regarding zoning land use items that are not on our agenda tonight. Is anyone here that would like to speak? Okay.
So yeah, happy 2025. Lisa McGowan, 33 Spinnaker. I almost forgot my address. It's been such a long time. So thank you for letting me speak. I just was hoping that, can you hear this on? Is this on? No, that's okay. I can talk really loudly. So I just was hoping that the commission here, the zoning board, would reconsider and have the public delegations at the beginning of the zoning meeting. I think it's really important that everybody in town can have a voice. You're saying you wanted everybody to have a voice, and if you could kindly consider moving the public delegations back to the beginning of the meeting. There's an awful lot of buzz out there about the development up on Oswegatchie Hill, and so, you know, I haven't really been involved in that, but I was just really hoping that, you know, you guys could be a little bit more reasonable and be like the other boards here in town and have consideration for all the citizens and change that, think about that again. Again, you want to, you know, listen to the citizens, and I think that might be a way to hear more people. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else tonight? No? Okay. Mr. Mulholland, what do you have for us?
I don't have a whole lot. We're not super busy, but we're not slow. It's steady, you know, after the holidays, et cetera, and given the economy and the election, there's usually a little bit dip in activity. The phone is starting to ring, and people are starting to show up with ideas, proposals, et cetera, et cetera. I think you might be aware that there's a limitation on the capacity for sewer, so that may put a damper for a while on any applications to us for any substantial projects. Yet to be determined, but I know there's an acute shortage right now, temporarily, supposedly. Nothing big on the horizon that I'm aware of, so since it's so warm and toasty out, I won't belay my time, so that's what I have. Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Yep.
I'm just curious, did they apply for a demolition permit for the old, what we called ZDM project on Main Street?
I can answer that. They sent me what equates to this. So no, there's no demolition permit.
There's your answer. Thank you.
Could you read that correspondence, please? Is there anything or no?
No,
No, I just
we don't
have
have
one
anything
single
here.
piece of paper, like you can't tear down 3 buildings with one single piece of paper. You need way more than that, so there's no
They're not there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see, you gave your report January 7th. Ms. Cloud, did you go to planning?
I did not.
Okay. Okay, let's catch up in February. Mr. Liska, will you be going to that meeting? February 11th. Thank you.
As a reminder.
I have another question, Madam Chairman. if I
Go
can.
for it.
I'm so sorry to go out of line. Mr. Mulholland, what are we gonna do, whenever we're down to one, attorney for counsel? Because as you know, in the past, we've said it here, that it's been difficult to get a hold of town council when we have a question. So what's gonna happen when the other one retires, and that's gonna put a big load on the remaining one? And I've asked this question before here.
Interesting you ask, because I asked the same question yesterday.
I just think we need to be a little bit, it would be nice if we could be a little bit.
Yeah,
I know you guys are so busy, but.
Well, since I've been around for a couple of days, what's typically happened, and this has happened before, where the law firm might be down an attorney due to a retirement or some other event, they usually bring somebody else on board with some experience. I have interacted with Mr. Bleasdale a couple of times the last couple of days. He's been readily accessible, either by phone or email. And so with me, he's very responsive, so that means responsive to the commission. They're going to work on that. They are going to be down an attorney. They are having a retirement.
Okay,
So
but,
they assure me that we will have plenty of access.
okay. So whenever we have, like, my concern is that we have questions that we'd like to speak to town council about in regards to this redistricting issue with our questions. I hope that it's not gonna get bumped back 2 and 3 months.
Yeah, I obviously can't answer that question technically, but I will share with you, I've already had a conversation with Attorney Bleasdale and with Ed O'Connell, who is still with the firm, although he's part-time as a semi-retired, and Mr. O'Connell was kind enough to share the history of the rezoning of the RU80, which I was unaware of, because it was pre my time.
Was it 96 the last time?
No, it was well after that. It was in the 70s.
I thought Carlson said he did it in the 90s.
No, not, I was here. That didn't happen then. But I've already kind of brought it up for conversation and hinted that we may want to invite him to come and guide us if necessary. And so I've already had that preliminary discussion in anticipation that you might want to do something like that, so that because I know the firm's busy, everybody's busy, so in anticipation, I've already started to kind of set that up just in case, and
So
try
not
to
3
expedite.
months.
Well, I don't think 3
Not 3
months. We
months,
don't,
that's too long.
3 months, anything could
So
happen.
what are we gonna do about, I mean, this town has a lot of busy issues right now. What's gonna happen when we're down from 2 to 1?
Well, that's really not our purview. That's the purview of the First Selectman's office and his interaction with the law firm. So, I mean, I've asked because I need the efficiency and I need access on behalf of zoning. I'm going to be talking to Mr. Bleasdale, and so I'm confident that we will have access to our attorney Bleasdale. I don't know what the law firm's plans are, and that's really not my purview. But I would suspect that they will ensure everybody has access.
Oh, I'm sure they will. The reason why I question it is because we've always had multiple town attorneys on, for any time we have questions, and there's a heavy load right now with the town, so when we take one away, it's
Yeah,
gonna
understood.
be even worse.
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, just FYI, the short-term rental committee is still chugging along. They have another meeting next Monday, and anyone is willing to go to that. There will be 2 more meetings total, including the one next Monday, and then one last public hearing that the date will be determined. And at that point, a report will be given to the Board of Selectmen. So that may or may not include zoning in the end, probably will. So it's something maybe just to keep your ears open on what's going on with that. I don't have anything else.
Madam
Anybody
Chair,
else?
did we
Yes.
want to talk about training? I see a note in our
We've kind of
notes.
talked about it before the
Okay,
meeting.
thank
but-
you then.
Yep.
I will mind my own business.
So I guess if we have a motion to adjourn, unless someone has something else.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting at 8:02.
Is there a second? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.